Part 2 of my top 10 underrated sequels list. Number 5 is Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. Now, I think I was talking about this before when I was talking about the Terminator movies. And I honestly think this is a good action movie. There's really good chase scenes. Action is really nice. And I do like the TX in this one. She's a very interesting Terminator. And I did like how when she could not find John Connor, she went after his lieutenants, which makes a lot of sense. And part of me is kind of wondering, maybe they could have done that in the second one too. I mean, that movie is fantastic, but this one, I think, because it had to live up to how great Terminator 1 and how fantastic Terminator 2 is, it was basically like, okay, people just know this movie's going to suck or it's not good, and they've made up their mind about it. Not to mention that ending, and that is a ballsy ass ending that I was like, wow, good for you. And Arnold Schwarzenegger shows that he's still got it in this one. Hell, even in Terminator Genesis, a lot of people hate that movie. I'm so-so on it. I don't think it's that great, but he shows that he still has it with Terminator. He knows how to play that character so well. And in this one, yes, there are more jokes, there's more humor to it, but I don't think the humor distracts from the action and the story. And if you do, that's up to you, but I really enjoyed it. And I think it deserves another chance from people who maybe when they watched it the first time were going in pretty close-minded. Number 4 is Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. This is my favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. People, when they talk about Indiana Jones, they talk about, Temple of Doom for like, oh, what the hell was that? And how it created a PG-13 rating. Or they talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark because, they think it's a fantastic movie, it's the best one. Or maybe they'll talk about King of the Crystal Skull and say how terrible it is. Honestly, I haven't seen it, so I can't judge it. But I do think, in my opinion, The Last Crusade is the best one because I like Sean Connery and Harrison Ford in this movie. They're a great father-son duo, and the way they play off each other is very interesting. There's some good comedy as well as really good action, and I really enjoyed the story they put along with it. Not to mention the whole thing about religious relics, of them being legit and showing that, look, this is how they would work. And that's always been a thing in the Indiana Jones movies, and I like that they continue it with this movie. Not to mention the idea of a cup of when you drink from it giving you eternal life is kind of interesting, and it can heal any wound that is sustained on a person. Very well done. It doesn't have like that. It does have kind of a gross out moment at the end with what happens to the bad guy. But all in all, I enjoy this movie quite a bit, and I still say it's the best one. Number 3 is not a second movie in the list, but actually the third. It is Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. Now, I think this movie, just like Terminator 3, had to live up to the phenomenon that it was not just the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, but also, The Empire Strikes Back. There was no way it could really live up to that to a lot of people. But I think that when you look at it, it's a very good and satisfying conclusion to the trilogy. And it does a great job of building the story arc with Luke, Leia, and Han. It even has a good redemption story with Lando in it. Not to mention that whole scene where they're busting Han out from Jabba's palace is pretty damn cool in my opinion. I think one of the reasons people are really down on the movie nowadays, sorry, I had a cough real quick, nowadays is because it's the movie that's been touched and changed the most by the special editions. And people, they hate the special editions so much. it's like sacrilege to some big time Star Wars fans. But in my opinion, Return of the Jedi is still a good movie, and like I said, it's a good conclusion to the Star Wars trilogy. Now, whether or not Rise of Skywalker can do that at the end of this year, we'll see. I mean, Last Jedi just... I'm not going to talk about it. I'll save that for another video. But all in all, I think because New Hope was so groundbreaking and The Empire Strikes Back was such a wow, what a story, and what a reveal, and what a twist in the middle at the end of it, that for a lot of people there's no way that Return of the Jedi could live up to that, but I think it does a good job on its own, and the Ewoks are not that annoying as far as I'm concerned. At least they only show up in the last third every once in a while. Number 2 is Predator 2. Anybody surprised? Anybody? No? That's what I thought. Yes, I had to put a Predator movie on here because I still think Predator 2 is a really good movie. And is it as good as Predator 1? Absolutely not, because that movie is a freaking masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. But it is a good movie in its own right, and it shows that unlike, say, the Alien movie, you don't need Arnold Schwarzenegger to be the lead. You could have somebody else be the lead in a different situation, and it does a good job of expanding the Predator mythos and the Predator culture in a way, especially on the ship when you see all those different skulls and how long they've been hunting and different planets they've been hunting too. And it also, if you're a fan of the Alien movies, there's that Easter egg where it shows a xenomorph skull, which unfortunately the first movie sucked. But yeah, Danny Glover does a good job in this one. There's some Gary Busey, he's fun to watch in this movie too. And the Predator, Kevin Peter Hall, rest in peace, good sir, because he returned in this movie. He is still fantastic. And the way he moves, the way that he is so menacing because of how large he is. And it shows more of that honor that we've seen in the first Predator movie. But I've talked about it. I don't want to gush over it and go through the whole Predator movies again. Let's get to number 1. The number 1 underrated sequel, in my opinion, is Jaws 2. Now, I may have mentioned this once before, but how could Jaws 2 have possibly lived up to Jaws? It is the most influential movie ever. Ever? And yes, the first movie to break earn $100 million at the box office. It became a cultural phenomenon. It changed how people even interacted, and when they go to the beach, people didn't go swimming for decades. For some people, after that, when they watched that movie, and it was so visceral and so real that what could possibly follow that? I mean, Jaws 2 is not going to be looked at as, it's so good. It's going to be, it's not as good as the first one, and therefore it must suck. No, I think, Roy Scheider does a good job as Chief Brody again, and you see him being afraid again. He knows he's been through this before. He doesn't want to do it again, and so they play up that quite a bit. And I do like the sons they're alright in this one, and I like the shark in this one too. They made it a little bit different. They gave him that burn scar on his face, which once they did that, then they showed him more. It looked pretty cool, in my opinion. I think you could have killed maybe 1 or 2 more people, but there is still a really good death scene in this movie, and it is messed up. Not to mention, the story is really good. Roy Scheider does a great job, and it's just one of those movies that, it could not live up to this cultural phenomenon that is Jaws, but it does a damn good job being a movie. So that's my list. What do you think? What's the most underrated sequel in your opinion? Let me know. And yes, I will review Far From Home within the next day or so, hopefully. So until then, take care. Bye.